We will now have a talk from Myrna Flores from EPFL and Shaun West from Lucerne University of Applied Sciences and Arts. Myrna Flores is the co-founder and president of the Lean Analytic Association and scientific collaborator at EPFL. Shaun West lectures in smart service innovation and works closely with industry, although there was a dot. Okay, industry. Although hackathons originally focused on coding, lately organizations have been increasingly organizing them to solve business challenges while applying customer-centric approaches. Myrna and Shaun will provide insights about a hackathon that enabled innovation experts to identify key services. Welcome, the two of you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Thanks very much. We want to talk about hackathons and how they can be used to get the human into the process and really understand what's going on in quite a fun way as well. So it's a really open process. So we're going to have a quick introduction about us, introduction about the problem. Myrna's then going to talk about DARE2HACK and the methodology that we've been following through, some findings, and then we're going to close out with some conclusions, some real lessons that we've learned from it. Two groups been doing some work with hackathons, very different in some respects and very, very similar in other respects, which is great because that gives us two very different perspectives and very complementary perspectives as well. Myrna from EPFL, Manik from the Lean Association, Dotetta, Christopher Tucci, who is now at Imperial, myself, and Oliver Stoll, who is currently my PhD student. So the introduction, why hackathons? Open innovation, it forces us to learn. It forces us to do things differently. Closed innovation is really not working, particularly when we're developing services which interact with many, many people. Sometimes we get it right for what we're trying to develop. Sometimes we get it wrong, but it's okay for somebody else. So that's really why the open innovation approach is really, really useful there in helping us move to more disruptive innovation. Crowdsourcing. There's more people out there than inside the firm. So actually, we're tapping into that. It's a way of getting new insights in, and particularly when we're delivering services, it's really, really valuable there. We understand what is going on. Different perspectives, different points of view, and we can reframe the problem. Too often within the firm we hear, not invented here, we tried that 20 years ago. Of course it didn't work 20 years ago. We didn't have supercomputers 20 years ago. 1 gigabyte was a lot. These days 1 terabyte isn't very much. So really we need to move forward and pull those ideas and work together to find new solutions. So the hackathon really is a co-creation event. I like it when it's got mixed teams. The literature says it's better with mixed teams. I want to have techie people there. I want to have business people there. I want to have engaged people there. I want to have people who interact with the service that we're developing, because they're going to give us new insights and help us understand what's important for them. The beneficiaries are so, so important to have in that room. And then we can reframe that problem and really understand that problem. But really, the essence of it is get the people together and learn from them. Learn what's going on, get their insights, and try and harvest their insights. And to be perfectly honest, it's a lot of fun. That's the other aspect of it. It's a very good way of understanding. So what are we looking at? We're breaking this out into a standard design thinking approach, if you like. I use a lot of service design in there. I want to really understand the problem space. We've drawn that so it's kind of shaky. I think we all think we know what the problem is. We don't. The problem space, from our perspective, is clear, but from somebody else, it's misty. It's difficult to understand. We need those different perspectives. Then we come in and we start to build solutions, and the literature there says we start to broaden it out and then bring it back again, and that's exactly what we're doing, and we test. And in both phases, we're really doing prototyping in both phases. We're trying to understand the problem on the problem side from different perspectives, and then we're trying to build solutions and test those solutions against the problem that we've seen. So why is this important for services? Service economy is where the growth is. We don't make things anymore. We make things to use things to deliver services. Machine tool manufacturers, right the way through to aircraft manufacturers and everything in between. So I'm going to hand over to Myrna now. Thank you, Myrna.
Thank you, Shaun. So it's a pleasure for me to be here and share to you what we have been working on different hackathons. So first of all, as Shaun says, it's fun. It's about understanding the problem, engaging people. But one key aspect would be how to organize these events, how to make sure participants understand what's the challenge, what they will be coming and solve, about the methodology itself, and facilitating the session. So the session has to be very active, very on time, and afterwards, there's a lot of data that will need to be analyzed, identified, and come up with some findings. So we have proposed this DARE2HACK methodology, and actually it covers the before, during, and after steps of the methodology. So first, it's important for whatever challenge, and we have seen an explosion of hackathons in the last months to solve different challenges around COVID. So the first one will be, what's the challenge? What are the trends? In the case we have a company hackathon, what is it that it's a problem for you? And try to document that and define it very well to launch the hackathon and invite participants to come in. During the hackathon, and as Shaun explained, we will follow the design thinking approach. So we have 5 phases that will run. Usually it's 1 day or 1 or 2 days, and participants will be facilitated with different experts with this design thinking approach to come up with solutions. Of course, first understand the problem, ideate, and then develop a lot of prototypes, and if possible, validate them with the participants and with end users to design these new services. And last but not least, at the end, the last step would be what to do with this data. So there's a lot of data, there's a lot of information. We need to make sense to then even integrate. Usually we have a winner, a couple of winners, but that does not mean that all these great ideas that came in as a result of the hackathon could be integrated into the next prototype. So what we have been working on, we have done already several hackathons, but in particular, we are also very much researching how to enable people collaborate in hubs and what hubs can offer, which services can hubs offer to make these companies collaborate in these co-location spaces. So we have done 2 hackathons. Here we're focusing on mainly one of them. We did one in Mexico City, we did one in London. So there's this emergence of smart cities, which are cities that have a lot of innovation. London was, according to the ISC ranking, #1. Mexico, it's above 100. But the idea here is, what do companies need to innovate? So we launched this hackathon with more than 60 participants from around 25 very innovative companies who won the Innovation Award in Mexico. And we brought them together to understand, what are your challenges? What are your needs? How could you innovate? Before the hackathon, following the steps, we did some research. So we wanted to understand around the world, to understand and be empathic with the situation. What are these hackathons around the world, and what are these hubs doing to help companies and organizations innovate? So we came up with these findings, and the first one is, innovation hubs require different actors, different stakeholders. The innovation will not happen by chance. They require a process, an innovation process. They require an orchestrator, a person that is holding their arm and holding them and showing them how to innovate. They need some innovation tools like Lean Startup, design thinking, agile, and so on. And they need to have a structured approach to innovate, to understand what's the problem and data around the innovation they will be carrying out. So we did an online survey. After doing this map, we were working on this huge map of hubs around the world, understanding what do they offer. We did a survey, and we had more than 400 organizations, mostly companies. We also had universities around the world, telling us what are they working on, if they work in a hub. If not, what could they be interested working on a hub? So it was quite interesting to find out that out of this survey and the map, not all the companies and the organizations that work in hubs are actually collaborating. They are innovating, but not all of them. Most hub offers a lot of training services. They offer services, training services. They offer events, but very, very few actually work on collaborative projects. So this is a challenge. How even if you are in a hub, in a space where you are supposed to collaborate, or you could collaborate to accelerate innovation, there's still a space there to be improved. So we did this hackathon, as I was explaining, in Mexico City. We organized the teams in 6. So all these participants, which were more than 60 from universities, government, even companies, were mixed in these 6 teams. And we asked them different things in the empathize phase, which is the first one. And the first finding was, what is it that you are missing to innovate? And the first interesting fact was specialists. We need some funding. We need a lot of collaboration. So this is the first step, which is the empathetic space. What is it that you need? What is it that you are missing? We put in the steps of in the shoes of the people that are collaborating with us in this hackathon. Then the other one that is a key finding was the number of ideas, and this just came from the ideation phase, but along the whole hackathon, we had more than 1,000 post-its that we actually documented, and this was just from the different teams. I have to explain that in this hackathon we had 4 personas. So we asked them about challenges and solutions that people or a persona from the university, from a big company, a startup, and government are actually facing for them to actually innovate on one end and also innovate in a collaborative way. So as you can see, we had, I think, more than 200, 300 ideas that just came in I would say 30 to 40 minutes, which how much time would have it taken if we didn't do a hackathon to interview all these participants and understand their ideas. So of course we had different winners, and we understood far incredibly better what could be the proposed solutions from these people that are actually working every day on these innovation challenges. So the last step is actually to diffuse, which is what we are doing right now with you today. So it's also very important for us to continue this research and understand with potentially few more hackathons, how can we go further in this innovation in hubs. Last but not least, this is just summarizing, going back to the services. So as Shaun was saying, what services can these hubs offer? And you can see the differences from the survey from, basically we have 3 major areas: Mexican companies, organizations, Argentinian, and the rest of the world. And most of them are looking for training, specialists, trends on research, consulting and expertise. So these are really important for some hubs that would be interested to incorporate these new services into their value proposition. So in a nutshell, what are the findings, the final conclusions of these different hackathons around innovation hubs that we have done? They need the role of the orchestrator. Legal support is needed to collaborate on this IP situation. They need to be aligned to a process, so each company has an innovation process, so they also require an integrated process to collaborate. So I will not go on one by one, but actually this was the result of one collaborative day that could have taken, I don't know how long, Shaun, probably days and days of data gathering and interviews, and you have all these results basically from one hackathon, which is the amazing part. And by the way, as you were saying, participants learned, shared, listened, and collaborated in one day, and they took some of these findings also back to their organizations. So just to conclude, LAA, the Nil Analytics Association, is a team doing this research together with the Fachhochschule of Lucerne and EPFL, and we are a spin-off from EPFL. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Myrna and Shaun. And we saw that you were part of the hackathon in Mexico.
Yes.
So can you tell me what were some of the great ideas that came out of that one?
So basically, one of the things that companies are saying is they don't have sometimes the skills to collaborate in these open innovation hubs. So what are the different skills? So yes, they are innovative, they are winners of the innovation award, but that doesn't mean that you have sometimes the skills to collaborate, to co-create. So they need to have some different competencies to be part of this collaborative hub. So that was one. They don't have some of the tools or the methodologies, just like design thinking. Not all of them knew that. The lean startup and so on. And last but not least, it was amazing that not all the organizations know what actually universities in their same location are doing. So here in Switzerland, we have a great ecosystem, and universities collaborate a lot with companies. But in a location where you have millions of people, just Mexico City has like 12 universities at least. if you're a company and you want to innovate, you need to map your ecosystem. So they were also learning and identifying what expertise can they learn and could they get in their innovation with the universities that are in a local environment. So that was also something that was very interesting for all participants, yes.
I heard we just got a question that came in. All right, it can be tedious work to collect all the data and ideas. How did you proceed? Shaun, maybe that one's for you.
I'm going to give you the lazy answer. I use students to collect and catalog, and it is tedious. Every post-it, photograph it, document it. Which team did it come from? Which persona? It's a very tedious process, and hackathons look fun. There's a lot of effort that goes behind to get it to work and to collect and use the data that comes out of it and transform that data into something useful. And you shouldn't underestimate the amount of effort that's used. And I'll be honest, I do use some of my students because they're better at doing it than I am.
All right. Traditionally, the participants of hackathons are not paid. Do you think it would be an option to pay them in order to get good people to participate?
That's actually very, very interesting. In the hackathon, we did just the same. We duplicated it in London with London School of Economics. And we were surprised that several of the participants, actually every weekend, they look for a hackathon. Literally, some of the people that it's just like, for them, it's like going to the movies, like sort of having fun. So they are expected more to learn about something new and to participate and so. We have done more than 20 hackathons. No one has ever paid participants. So sometimes they are in-house, in companies, or open like this one. I think the spirit is more to solve a challenge and win a prize. So there's always this emotion of the winning, to create something that will win the best solution. And I think that's far more stimulating the competition aspect and create something different and work on a topic that you might not know. I think that has stimulated, because we have done actually in even different countries. And usually people come, they are never paid, and they are super happy. I don't know.
I would agree. I would pay for somebody to give a keynote. At one, I think that's different. But for the participants, I've always had free food, and the stimulation of what's going on and what happens at the end seems to be enough value to get people to go. It's cheaper than going to the cinema and much, much more fun. The cinema, it's you plus the screen.
Yeah.
And a hackathon, it's you plus the whole team, plus the other teams. And that's much, much more stimulating.
We have another question that came in. How do you know whether you reached research saturation in such a workshop? For example, when can you stop without missing out maybe a gold nugget?
The clock. Just run the clock and stop it. And then do the analysis afterwards and then go back. You have to be disciplined on time. Otherwise, the hackathon for a week becomes 2 weeks, becomes 3 weeks. And then we trip back into old ways of being late with innovation.
Time is perfect keyword, because we just ran out of it. I'm so sorry. You wanted to say something? I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you.
Just to let you know that when we do it with multinational, with big, huge companies, we do a stakeholder map to understand who do we invite that will bring also value. Yep. And the other thing is, if this is a topic that employees or participants don't know, we usually do this trends research, and we give all these insights at the beginning or even before. We ask participants to read videos or to read papers for them to understand what the challenge is about. And this, every time we do it, let's say we invest more time on this, the results, there's a correlation of the most, more interactive and better results, because people, as Shaun said at the beginning, they understood better the problem space before coming, rather than there's a challenge and just let's start brainstorming and they don't know. So it's key, the research before communicating what's the challenge, what's the problem, giving them something to read, and that will definitely give better outputs.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Myrna and Shaun.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being
Thank
here.
You.
Bye-bye.